Communicating later. A lot of communicating going on later. Oh, okay. Ephesians 5 card. I like it. Oh, man. All right. So we go to 12:45. Yes, sir. All right. Beautiful. And then again, if I finish the sessions. Oh, did I turn me off here? Oh, there we go. We're back. Oh, all right. We'll save some questions at the end of this session, too. I know we're running behind a little bit, so we'll do some questions at the end of each session, and that way, it might all pan out in the end, instead of just taking one session just for questions. So, see, it all worked out, man. It's all worked out. Okay. Listening and self-control. Okay, we're going to do two things here. Listening and self-control. How often have you felt like that when your spouse is talking? Now, you don't do that in front of her or him unless you are really bold. But it's kind of like, I'm just not listening. I'm just not listening, right? Why does that happen? Why does that happen? I mean, here's your spouse trying to communicate something, and then you just tune them out. What are some reasons we do that? I'm paying attention to something else right now, right? These obviously are one of the biggest notorious, right? Hey, babe, can we talk? Uh-huh. So the other day when you were saying that, did you really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's not good. Now, I'm usually looking up the answers on Google of what she's asking, so that's why. That's one benefit of having that phone, right? But when you don't give someone your undivided attention, you send them a message. What's the message? You're not important. I don't really care what you have to say right now. And that hits at the heart level. That hits at the heart level. What's interesting is this. If any of us have a boss, and the boss walks into your office and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Jones, can I speak to you for a minute?" "Yes, sir." Do you think I would stand there in front of my boss and go, "Uh-huh, yeah, oh, yeah"? It's amazing to me how much more respect we give people outside of our marriages than our own spouses. Think about that. Think about the way you listen or don't listen in your marriage, or the way you lose self-control in your marriage. What if you did that with outside authorities in your life? Right? So, listening and self-control. Proverbs 18:3. He who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him. This is God's design. You want to answer before you've listened. God says that's foolishness. Why is it so hard to just sit and listen? Just take it in. No commentary, no interrupting, no cutting off, no qualifying, no, but the other day you, but, right? Why do we do that? Well, hopefully it'll become a little clearer. Okay, this is going to hurt. All right, so just brace yourself for the next slide. This is going to hurt all of us. Ready? Here we go. Ready? If you are cutting your spouse off before fully listening, you are stupid and a disgrace. That's more of a literal translation of Proverbs. That's one thing that you kind of get out of the original languages. When you start looking at the original, they have so much more color than our English language. Look at what God is saying. If you're cutting off your spouse before fully listening, you are stupid. This is not me. God is saying this, not me. This is God. You go back and look at the verse in the Hebrew, that's exactly what it means. You are stupid and you are a disgrace. Wow. Now, why would God give that what seems to be a very harsh statement for those who don't listen? What's behind that? What's behind that? That's pretty harsh. Well, think about it this way. You and I are all made in the image of God. You and I are God image bearers. Now, I want you to think about that truth and then think about not listening to a fellow God image bearer. All of a sudden, it gets a little more weightier. Gets a little bit more weightier, doesn't it? See, it's one thing for me to have a coworker come and say, hey, Pastor Ron, can I ask you a question? Man, not now, man. Not man. I ain't got time. That would be a little like disrespectful. It's like, dude, he's one of your co-pastors. Why are you treating him that way? Okay. Be another issue if I'm driving along, whoop, whoop. Cop pulls me over, walks up to the window, and he says, license, registration, sir. Man, I ain't got time right now. And I drive off. And I just drive off, right? Well, wait a minute. Which one's worse, the first one or second?
Worse for you?
Both. In that moment, it's going to be, right? But see, both of them, because they are both image bearers of God. I didn't say they're both Christians. Right? I think this is part of why God says when you don't listen and you cut your spouse off, you're not only stupid, but it's a disgrace. Because that's my image bearer. You're treating that way. Wow. Man, I mean, we could do a whole seminar just on the Imago Dei, talking about the image of God and what that means and how we treat one another. But I think this is why Jesus Christ can stand back and say, love your enemies. Pray for your enemies. But they're my enemy. They're made in the image of God. Whether they believe or not. So this is serious, guys. And we need to have this theological truth in our hearts when we're sitting there and we're tempted to put our fingers, and maybe just our proverbial fingers, in our ears and not listen to our spouse. I don't want to be stupid nor a disgrace in God's eyes. So how do you listen? How do you listen? Right? Don't interrupt. Now, it seems so simple. Think about this. Here's one thing as I get older. Yeah, I was wrestling with this the other day. I said, God, why is it that you get older and the lights start to come on, but then you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm getting old. Like, man, why didn't I learn this when I was like, if I learned this when I was like 19, and then the Holy Spirit's like, well, because you ain't want to learn it. Right? I'm sure this truth was told to you, right? I'm realizing that a lot of things in our marriages that work are things that we tell kids. How many times you tell kids, well, Johnny, now stop interrupting, Johnny. Let Mary finish talking. But then we can't do it as adults. Right? Don't interrupt. And what's hard about interrupting is, well, what if my spouse begins to say something that's not true? I'm not going to let you say something that's not true. I'm going to, wait. No, that's not true. No. Here's what I tell couples. When you are listening, do you know what that means you're doing? You're listening. But Pastor Ron, I can't sit there. She's throwing all these accusations out about me. I got to defend myself. I'm a man. I'm like, are you done? Are you done? Right? Because if you all that of a man, your marriage wouldn't be in disrepair. So sit down. Learn to listen. right? Learn to listen. Now, I understand there might be things that she says that are wrong. So all you do, real simple. You have a notepad and you have a pen. And go ahead, honey. So as Monique starts talking, I'm like, Let's say she says something that is not accurate. Here's all I have to do. Hold on, babe. Okay, go ahead. See? Let her get it all out. And just, oh, hold on a minute. Wait, what did you say on Saturday? Okay, go ahead. Man, you talk about healthy communication when you can do that. Because you're not letting anything go, but you're not going to interrupt. You're just going to record it, but you don't say anything. She has the mic. Don't interrupt. You'll get your opportunity. Why can't we get to that step? Because we get so defensive, and it's about us, and I want to be right, and I want to show where you were wrong. And that's called pride. Just sit and take it in. Don't interrupt. Don't get defensive. So many times in the counseling session, one spouse will get defensive at the other one, and this one is shooting back, but this one hasn't even listened to everything they said. I'm hearing what the spouse is saying. This one jumps to conclusions and starts jumping all in this other spouse's world, right there in the office. And I usually let it go for a little bit, and then I'll stop. And I say, okay, wait, stop. I said, you didn't even hear what your wife said, did you? No, I heard what she said. She's talking about, I'm worked too many hours, but yet she still expects me to provide all these different things for her. Which is it? Because, nothing's free, Pastor Ron. Nothing's free. I said, well, actually, my counseling is, so you're wrong there. So, could you be wrong in some other areas? I said, actually, she didn't say that. No, Pastor Ron, you just heard what she said. Because, see, when they're talking, I'm taking notes. I said, here's what she said. She said, I know you work hard to provide all these things, but I'd rather have you than all these things. That's what she said. And you didn't even hear it. Because as soon as she brought up your work schedule, you got defensive. And you cut off. How many times do we do that? And so what happens? Nothing ever gets accomplished. Because you're responding to things that were not even said. She says A, you respond to B. Right? You say B, she responds to C. And it's just this, and it's just like the initial picture, arguing, and you just get frustrated. All right? So don't interrupt. Don't get defensive. Pick the right time. Wives, I say this to you in love. 2 o'clock in the morning, a good time. That, what? Honey, are you awake? Honey? What's wrong? Is somebody breaking in? What's wrong? Can we talk? Oh. Not a good time. Pick the right time. Do you know how many conversations never even get off the ground because it's the wrong time? You ever come home to your spouse and there's something you've been like mulling over in your head all day? Like something, all right, I got an issue with my spouse. I'm going to deal with this. All right, I'm going to deal with this. You go through a whole work day and you come home because you're going to deal with it. You walk home. You're home for about 5 minutes. Then your spouse comes walking in. Oh, I'm glad you're home, baby. We got to talk. You ever do that? Yeah, how well does that go? And it's like, really? Right now? No, we're going to do this right now. Okay. Now, usually that happens when one spouse wants to talk and the other one keeps saying what? Later. Not right now. I'm tired. Oh, can we talk tomorrow? And tomorrow turns into 6 months later. And now you open up the door and your spouse is right there. Hello, how are you? Good. Good. Here's your coffee. Sit down. We're going to talk. It's like, we're going to make it happen now, right? Pick the right time. Because if you're not in the right frame of mind, you're not going to listen. Because you don't even want to be there. You don't want to be there. Right? Now, how practical is this? Are there times where you don't have an opportunity to pick a right time? We got to talk. Of course. Of course. Can you think of a situation that, no, we have to talk now. This is not something that can wait. Can you give me a scenario where I know you're tired, but we got to talk? What would be one of those scenarios?
Issue with the child.
Okay. Why would you have to talk now?
Because maybe something happened at school.
Yeah.
He was the proper punishment.
Yep. We got to talk now, right? Let me tell you what your son did in school today.
Your son.
So there are those emergency conversations, right? But when it's relational stuff between you, you want the right time so you can have each other's undivided attention. Okay? Make sense? Don't interrupt. Don't get defensive. Pick the right time. Don't marginalize. Man, we do this. Your wife begins to share. Your husband begins to share. Oh, honey, come on. Really? That bothers you? That is so trivial. Wow. Really? When we marginalize a genuine concern that the other spouse has, what are we saying to them? Your feelings are important to me. You don't really matter. And to go further, you're saying I'm the standard for how you should feel. You're making a big deal out of nothing, right? Man, listen, at the root of all of our interaction or lack of interaction, there's something going on at the heart level. Jesus Christ said, out of the heart are the issues of life. Out of the heart come lying and envy and strife. And there's something going on in here, right? So when a spouse brings something up and they're trying to listen, but then if you determine this is not worth listening to, because you've marginalized it, and then you just tune it out. This is no big deal. And your spouse can sense that, because you'll get one of these. Are you listening to me? And then you do what? You do what we just talked about not doing in the first session. You're not honest. You lie. Yeah, What did I say? You said a lot of stuff. Now you're lying again. Right? Right? Oh, that's true. That might not be a lie, right? But listen. One spouse asked me, Pastor Ron, how do I know if I have an issue in my marriage that I need to let, kind of like what the sister said over here, that I need to let my spouse know? I don't want to bring something up trivial, but I just don't know. And here's what I said. You have an issue in your marriage when you have an issue. Did you catch that? You have an issue in your marriage when you have an issue. Has nothing to do with what your spouse thinks. Because you wouldn't be asking me the question if it wasn't an issue. And if you take that attitude and bring everything on the table. Now listen, you can qualify it and say, hey, look, babe, we need to talk. This might not be a big deal. You can qualify it, but it's something I'm wrestling with. And put it out on the table. Right? It seems like, I don't know, every night you leave at 7 and come back at 11 and nobody knows where you are. It might not be a big deal, but like, can we talk about that? Bible study extended tonight? I mean, like, what happened? Right? Don't hide these things. Don't marginalize one another. Oh, you're bringing that up again? Honey, when are you going to get over that? Don't do that. That's putting down your spouse. Obviously, if they haven't gotten over it, you're not doing your part. So that's a reflection on you. Maybe you're not making them feel secure in this issue, or you're not providing what support they need emotionally. But obviously, if they haven't gotten over it, that's on you, not on them. right? And don't do this.
Yes, but isn't it possible that they have an issue, like a former trauma, whatever? Isn't it possible that they have an issue, a former trauma or whatever, that you can't meet, so it keeps coming up?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that would be like a caveat to what I just said. Because that's true. There are people who have been in abusive situations, and they constantly struggle with security or acceptance or anything, right? And it just keeps coming up, and it just keeps coming up, right? Absolutely. But again, you can't say to something like that, like if you bring up something, I'm really feeling lonely, honey. I can't go, okay, honey. I can't do that because there may be some trauma from the past that you're wrestling with, and even though I'm doing everything I know to do to give you emotional security, it's not enough because of the past, right? I don't want to trivialize that and say, honey, didn't we talk about this already? That would be unfair, and that would actually push the person further into the trauma, right? So that's a good point.
But even in that situation, you know, wouldn't it be good to be, again, for communication and honesty, say, what have I done that is adding to this burden?
Yep.
What can I do
Absolutely. Yeah.
that I'm not doing or do whatever
There you go.
to help you as you're working through it with Christ?
Yes. And that was my first statement. And then, Monique brought up that example. So my first statement was what you're saying. If someone is struggling with something and they got to bring it up again, I should be able to say to my spouse, okay, is there something I'm doing to exasperate this? Is there something I'm not doing? That was my initial point. To Monique's point, they might look at me and say, no, it's not you, but I'm just here again because of the past and because of trauma. Okay, no problem. Let's talk it again. How can I help? What can I do different? And by the way, guys, just, this may not, I don't want to stereotype guys, but there are going to be some times where your wife brings something up and she doesn't want your help. She wants you to just listen. Like, that's how you can help, by just listening. And that's so hard. Because when she comes and she's upset and she says, I need you to listen to me, I start listening to Monique, but after the first sentence, I got a plan A, B, C. If that don't work, I got another plan. And she's not interested in my stinking plans. I just want you to listen. And I'm like, well, why are you telling me all this and you don't want me to fix it? I don't want you to fix it. Just listen. That feels very illogical to me, right? To me and to most men who are fixiters, is that a word, fixiters? Probably not. It's like somebody coming in and say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah. Man, there is like a serious leak over there. Oh, okay, whoa, no. Don't get the mop. Well, you said there's a leak. Yeah, no, I just want you to listen. There's a leak and there's a puddle collecting on the floor and the chairs are getting messy. Okay, well, come on, man, let's move this. No, I just want you to listen. Like that's what it feels like sometimes, right? And we want to jump into action, and our wives are like, sit down and just listen. I don't need you to fix me. I just need you to listen to me. That's hard to do sometimes. So wives, if your husband's wired this way, understand that fix-it switch goes on. Wait, what do you want me to do? Right? And then spouses will start to argue because this one, I just want you to listen, and this one's like, but I want to fix what you're saying. But I don't want you to fix what I'm saying. I just want you to listen. It's hard sometimes, right? How many times when we talk, I'm going to put you on the spot. How many times when we talk would you say you want me more to listen versus actually fix something?
About 20, 30%.
Yeah, see, I would have said 25%, right in the middle, right? And that's hard. That's hard, okay? Don't marginalize. If there's a real issue, let's deal with it, okay? And one of you guys said this already, I think. A great question to ask at the end of the listening, because you might do real good with the listening part. Now, when it's your turn to talk, you better be very careful in what you say. Okay? Because the whole thing could just go south. So after you have listened, here's what you need to say. Honey, thank you for sharing this with me. What are you asking of me? Was this just to inform me, or are there things that I need to do? That's a fair question, right? Okay? Because if you jump right in, now, I will say this, if you've been listening correctly, you should know. So that could also go south, because you could sit there and then ask that question. They say, haven't you been listening to me? What do you mean, what do I want you to? Oh, forget it. And you're like, what just happened? Right? But that's a good question to ask if you're unsure. I'm not sure if you're asking me to do something or you're just kind of telling me, right? So, be there. Be there. Be 100% engaged. No cell phone. No watching TV. Don't take your wife out to a nice restaurant that has televisions, men, and you're boasting to your friends, yeah, the game's on tonight, but I'm taking my girl out, man, yeah, because we're going to keep this marriage good. Oh, that's good, and you go to a sports bar so you can watch the game, right? Come on. Like, be engaged. Undivided attention. Undivided attention, okay? Why is that so hard to do? Well, to be honest, because I think part of it is we're selfish. We're selfish. How many of you honestly get excited when your spouse says, you come home and they say, oh, honey, we need to talk? How many of you guys are like, yes, I was hoping you would ask me that. Oh, man, let me get some coffee. You want some peanuts? Okay. How many of us, I don't know, anybody who's like, oh, you want to talk? Yes. Our initial response is what? Honey, we need to talk. What's the initial response? You say what?
Right now.
Right now? Why? What's wrong? What did I do? Right? Why is that the default response? I think that's an indication of how healthy the marriage is. I really do. If you're defaulting to that, that's an indication of how healthy that marriage is. Because why can't it be this? I come home, walk in, Monique comes home. Hey, babe. Hey, what's up? Hey, babe. I need to talk to you. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me just put this down. What's up? Why doesn't it happen that way? It should happen that way. There's nothing to hide. We've been having open, honest communication. I'm not hiding anything. Everything's on the table. There should be no reason for, about what? Why? Wait, what did I do? You understand what I'm saying? When you respond that way, that's an indication that your marriage is not healthy. That should not be the response. I call it grandmom syndrome. When we were growing up, and mom said, grandmom's coming over, what did we all have to do? Clean. And it was an all-day affair. It was an all-day affair. If grandmom's coming over Sunday, we had to get up Saturday and spend most of Saturday cleaning. And it literally took all day Saturday to clean. 6 boys, 2 girls in a row home in Philadelphia. I mean, the house was destroyed. From laundry to marks on the wall, we had to scrub. I remember scrubbing the baseboards and the plaster walls with all the crayon marks and everything. Literally. It would take us all day. And we hated it. But we loved that Grandma was bringing shoe fly pie, I can't say it. Shoe fly pie, yeah. All that stuff Grandma made, right? Now let me ask you a question. Why did you have to wait until Grandma came? Just keep the house clean. Right? Just keep it clean. Just keep the communication going. And you don't have to have that response like, oh, what do you want to talk? Oh, what do you want to talk? You don't have to have that response. Keep it open. Keep it honest. Don't lose control. Always listen. And if your spouse comes to you and say, hey, we need to talk, you'll be like, oh, okay, what's up? If you can't do that, I guarantee you it's an indication of how your communication has been. Make sense, guys? Be there. Verify, verify. Now, why did you say ouch? Do share. We're all family here. Anybody got a couch? My brother can stay. Why'd you say ouch? Do share.
I just have a couple issues. Oh, you mean on the floor? I'm sorry. No, just like sometimes when he talks, he's supposed to say, I can't hear, so he goes outside. And, just things like that, a couple of things it's like, I have to verify.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, brother. Were you going to say something? No, he's like, I'm not saying nothing. I didn't raise my hand. No. Everybody's sitting like they're sitting next to their parole officer, right? They're scared to say something. But how important is that? How important is it to verify? Depends on who you're talking to, right?
Sometimes I have to talk to somebody that's personal with him, the person I'm talking to.
Okay.
Right? Our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're helping somebody or talking to somebody, and this is just between you and that person,
Sure.
and you got to get out there, and that guy says, don't say anything, you don't say anything.
Okay.
Even to your spouse.
Even to your spouse.
Okay, so if you're in a, obviously for me, if I'm in a counseling situation, the things that I counsel people about, I don't share with Monique, right?
But he's not a counselor.
No, people, I'm not a counselor, but yes, I am.
Okay, Monique said everybody's a counselor.
Can I interject one
Everybody's a
thought?
counselor, right.
Okay,
Interject one thought? Just one thought.
one thought.
So, in general,
Mm-hmm.
everyone I know, in general, knows that anything I know, Lori knows.
Yep.
In general.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone comes to me and says, I need you to not even tell your wife this thing,
Yep.
then I know it's something that even Lori can't know.
Okay.
But those are very rare. Very rare.
Okay.
Between, right?
That's rare.
That's not like every time somebody calls you outside,
Right. No, I understand. So the issue becomes, you talk about openness and transparency in a marriage, right? You talk about honesty. You talk about all of those things. Should there be any relationship that I have with someone outside of my marriage that Monique does not know about? No. Right? Right? Okay. So this is general meeting, right? I'll leave my card with you later. So there are obviously counseling is unique. I can't breach confidentiality with that. But if Monique comes out and let's say I'm talking to Tony Osimo, Leslie and Tony, right? Good friends of ours. I'm talking to Tony, and Monique comes out and says, "Oh, who was that?" And I say, "That was Tony." And she said, "Hey, what were you guys talking about?" Well, if Tony, who is a mutual couple friend of ours, if Tony was sharing something personal going on in his life, I'm not going to tell her because I'm breaching confidentiality with Tony, right? And I say, well, I'll say this to him. Oh, he's really struggling with some stuff. I'll say that. Would you say what?
I might.
Well, she might. No, she might say what, and then what if I said I can't share that? She's fine with that, right? So now, here's the difference. I'm just giving two extremes. I'm in Wawa, getting some coffee. Monique's sitting in the car waiting, looking right through the window, and I'm there getting coffee. Pay my coffee, and the cashier finished paying. Nobody else is in the store, and now I'm talking to the cashier. and just talking. Goes on for about 5 minutes, laughing, and finally I leave, and I come and get in the car, sit down, and Monique looks at me, and she says, what was that about? What's up with that? And I said, oh, nothing. And she's like, no, like, what were you guys talking about? Oh, honey, that was private.
Or nothing.
No. What private conversation are you having with a cashier at Wawa? That's not private, right? Now, if there's a problem where I can't tell her what we're talking about, then there's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Right? How would you respond if I said nothing? No, don't answer that. I'll be walking home. Can I get it right? Well, she's a cashier at her store. Right. So, and here, when I'm talking about listening and verifying, I'm talking about in the vein of, remember writing down things as your spouse is speaking? Before you respond, if you wrote anything down, and why are you writing things down? So you don't interrupt. This is where, again, and I know it might sound a little mechanical, and if you're not used to doing this, but it really works. You might sound like a lawyer a little bit. That's okay. So, Monique, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. Okay, so you said last Saturday when we left at 10 o'clock, you was really upset because I said we will be home by 7. Did I hear you right? You know how many times it'll be like, no, I didn't say that. Oh, okay, tell me what you said. It's amazing how many times you didn't even hear what the person said. Because as much as you think you're listening, that little defense is going on here. And you're not hearing everything because you're building your defense. So important to verify everything. There's times, early on in our marriage, we haven't had a really good argument lately, have we? I can't think of a... Wait, what? Early on in our marriage, we had some good doozies, right? We did. Every couple did. We're getting better. But I remember she would come in and she was like, you just don't hear me. And I'm like, you don't hear me. It was just, right? And then it would be, I heard what you said. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Honey, how are you going to tell me you heard what I said when you're responding to something I didn't even say? Because you did say that. You see how illogical that is? I'm telling her, you don't understand what you said. I'm responding to what you really said, even though she didn't really say it. That's confusion. God's not the author of confusion. Obviously, listening broke down. We didn't verify anything. A lot of times we communicate more with our emotions than with facts. Right? Verify. It really works. You know, what's the real battle here, guys? Like I said, there's always something going on theologically. Finally, my brothers, you know the verse. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Please hear me when I say this. And this battle even takes place in marriages when you're trying to communicate. Don't you think that Satan is not looking for every opportunity? Look at what 12 says. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age. Do you realize that when you're communicating, if you are a child of God, that this audience is always there? I don't know if we realize that. We kind of think that's out there somewhere. That's over in a third world country somewhere. No, that's right in your living room. And the more I begin to realize that this spiritual battle that God talks about never stops. And even in my communication, in my marriage, and raising my kids, this dynamic is always present. Man, we got to keep that in mind. Rulers of the darkness of this age against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. This is why I always say to people, and I started this whole day by saying this. I may say it a few more times. The real issue is, how are you doing spiritually? Because if the vertical is not right, this is not going to be right in light of this battle. So, man, I just can't communicate. The guy who told me he was just weary with his wife. I'm just weary. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I said, tell me how your vertical walk with God is. I've never had a man come into my office and say, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And yet he has a vibrant, intimate walk with God. I've never had that happen. I've had people come in my office and say, I got to get back in the Word. I got to get back in prayer. I got to get back. And now you look at the marriage, and the marriage is tanking. Of course. You're not in the Word. You're not in prayer. You're not spending time to come apart like Jesus rose up early to be with his Father. Like, that discipline's not in your life, and this is what you're fighting? Of course that's going to leak out into your marriage. Guys, we can never lose sight of the real battle. So here's the checkpoint. You know it was coming. I'm going to give y'all a special checkpoint. Okay. What do you struggle with the most when it's time to listen? Just think about you and your wife. Maybe the last conversation where you kind of went south. What's hard about listening? Is it the time? Is it the topic? Is it how long she wants you to listen? How long he wants? Well, it's never an issue with how long he wants you to listen because men usually have these short conversations. But what do you struggle with the most when it's time to listen, okay? I'll give you 2 minutes starting now. Time's up. Would you like an extension? This is good. We can go another 2 minutes.
You had the answer in a second.
All right, very good, very good. So just remember what you're saying now because you're going to continue that conversation when you go home. All right? All right. Here we go. Is this that next video, Teddy?
We're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right? Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We've got a box for the money. We've got a box for the job. We've got a box for you. We've got a box for the kids. We've got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. The money's connected to the car, and the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. It's like... It's like the internet superhighway, okay? And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's just... It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. Women tend to care about everything. And she just loves it. Okay? Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time. That's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end. You know, like fishing. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. You know, they connected all the wires and stuff like that and watched the brain activity, then all of a sudden, I think he's dead. Huh? You know, women can't do it. They can't do it. Their minds never stop. And they don't understand the nothing box. And it drives them crazy. Because nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more irritated than to witness a man doing nothing.
All right. Can I get an amen? Is there truth to that? Pretty accurate? Now, you have to stop and ask yourself, why? Because, again, in my experience of counseling, I would say most men and women fall into those categories. Not all. There's been a handful of guys or couples that I've met that are the opposite. The woman is very non-emotional, and the man is like, I'm giving him tissues in the session. It's been a handful. But for the most, this is how we're wired. God wired us this way. Why would he wire men and women so different when it comes to how we think and how we communicate? Sacrificial love. Again, it is easy to love someone just like you. It is. And men will come into my office and they'll drop this as an excuse for why they can't change. Here's what they'll say. Come on, Pastor Ron, I'm a guy. This is the way I am. You're probably that way too with Monique. I love it when they flip it on the pastor. You know, well, you're probably this way with Monique, right? I said, I probably am, but Monique is at home and your wife is still in the hotel. So there's something different. Don't hide behind the way your personality is or the way you're wired to not step out and love the way God said to. Because the issue is it takes sacrifice, right? So we talk about don't lose it. No one causes a believer to lose control. You choose to lose it. You choose to lose it. How many times have you said to your wife after saying something mean and hurtful, babe, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. You just lied. You just lied. You said exactly what you meant. Do you see how we marginalize sin? I was just tired. I'm sorry. I didn't really mean to say that. Then why did you say it? You meant to say it in that moment to hurt me. Take ownership of it, right? We don't lose control because of it just happened. Now, we'll get frustrated. You're not listening to me. And then we feel justified, like I've already told you to stop talking. You won't let it go. Then we'll lose control. You know how many couples have sat in my office and things have gone really south? Well, if he wouldn't have, then I wouldn't have. If she wouldn't have, then I wouldn't have. Sounds like the garden. Right? Yeah. Adam, what have you done? Oh, the woman you gave me. Do you realize when Adam did that, he was implicating God? You catch that? The woman you gave me. Why did you disobey me, Adam? The woman you gave me. What's the implication? If you wouldn't have given me her, I was fine up here in the garden with all these animals, just us chilling. And then you gave me this woman. Adam, what have you done? The woman. Eve, what have you done? The serpent. Guys, it's the same issues today. The blame game. Take ownership, right? Ephesians 4:31, let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And he doesn't qualify it unless your wife isn't getting it, unless your wife isn't understanding, unless your wife is not listening to you. He doesn't qualify that. This is a command that is written on the heels in Ephesians after chapter 1, 2, and 3 deals with what Christ did for you. And now 4, 5, and 6 in Ephesians deals with the practical, this is how you live it out. In other words, you have the ability to live out, and we'll talk more about this in the last session, the fruit of the Spirit. And it has nothing to do with your personality. It has all to do with the Spirit of God that lives within you. His personality. We choose to lose control. Why did I lose it? You allowed your emotions to rule. That's why we lose it. You allow your emotions to rule. Okay? We are emotional beings. God created us with emotion. The problem is these emotions are still housed in an unredeemed body, and so our emotions oftentimes can be used for sinful responses. You got to keep them in check. And this is why I say the timing is important. If you know you're emotionally tired, don't sit down and have a serious conversation. Don't force a serious conversation and one of you are not feeling too good. You're under the weather. Why would you do that? You're just going to raise the probability that one of you are going to lose control. Right? The conversation wasn't going your way. These are reasons we lose control. Your wife is winning. Your wife is winning. You ever been in one of those conversations? And you come out hitting strong. Boom, 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 boom. And then your wife says, that is not what you said. And you're like, yes, I did. No, I never said that. I never said that. And then you even get the kids. You drag the kids in. Yeah, Mom, Dad didn't say that. Dad never said that. We were there. Yeah, see what I'm saying? Not trying to bring the kids in, but just so you know, honey, see, you don't hear everything the right way. And you're feeling kind of good. And then your wife pulls up her phone and says, here's a text you wrote me. And you're like, you know what? I ain't got time for this. I ain't got time for this. What just happened? You got called out. You were losing, right? These are all reasons we lose. You choose to stop showing patience. You choose to stop showing patience. Now, I sat there for like 30 minutes past run. I just couldn't take it anymore. Now again, spirit-filled man saying you couldn't take it anymore. Either that's true or Galatians 5 is true, that the fruit of the Spirit is patience. I'm going to put my chips on what God said. We fall into these mantras all the time that are lies. Oh, I just couldn't take it anymore. Yes, you could have. Yes, you could have. You chose not to because of your selfishness, because of your pride. Call it what it is. If you don't call it what it is, you'll never change. You choose to stop showing patience. You put yourself first. Again, as I said, when your spouse says to you, hey, we need to talk, how many of you guys get happy? Right? Because you're thinking, oh, man. Well, it's kind of like this. We have 5 kids, and, 2 of them are out of high school now. 2 are in high school. 1's in elementary. So one of the things that would just get under my skin, you work, you come home, it's 7 o'clock at night, you're tired, you hang your keys up, and here comes one of them. Oh, Dad, you're home. Good. I left my biology book at the school, and I have a test tomorrow. Can you take me back? Oh. So I do what any spirit-filled, godly husband, pastor would say. Go ask your mother. I'm going to sit down. And I hear him skip upstairs. Mom, can you take me back? Where's your father? He told me to ask you. Right? You pass a couple my way too. But what is it? I want to put myself first. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I want what I want right now. And I don't want to have to do something that's against what I want, what I'm feeling. Same reason we lose control with our spouses. Ephesians 4:32, and be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, here it is, guys, just as God in Christ forgave you. Wow. So when you do blow up, you better go back and clean up. You better go back and clean it up if you lose control. Don't you dare go to your separate rooms and just sleep it off and wake up in the morning and meet at the coffee like nothing happened. God doesn't bless that. God doesn't delight in that. Go back and ask for forgiveness. And I would say this, because in that same passage, don't let the sun go down on that anger. Get it right. Get it right. Why? Remember, the weapons of your warfare are not carnal. You can't afford to let stuff like that sit. Satan will have a feeding frenzy on it. Be kind, tenderhearted, clean up. Take ownership. Don't stay unresolved. Repent for the verbal wounds. True repentance is taking ownership and saying, look, I take ownership of that. I should not have said that, and I apologize. A lot of times we have these blow-ups, and then we just do some generic type of, we good? Like, I'm sorry. You sorry too? No. What are you sorry for? What are you sorry for? The attitude you had with me? Bringing my mother up into this conversation? Throwing the finances in my face? Throwing my parenting in my face? Tell me what you're really sorry for. You see what I'm saying? Don't trivialize the offenses when we do it to one another. Repent for bringing up the past. Man, we're so guilty of that. By the way, if you bring up the past, that just means you don't know how to resolve things. Should be nothing to bring up. So here's the checkpoint, but I know we're out of time, so we'll do this checkpoint after lunch, okay? But the checkpoint is going to be, what do you need to do differently when you lose self-control? And we'll
Actually, we want to take 2 minutes now and then go to lunch?
we'll do that. You're the great scheduler, so I don't want to offend you. Can we do that?
I think that's a good idea.
Let's take 2 minutes. What do you need to do differently when you lose self-control? All right? 2 minutes. Oh, I like the way we just ended ours. I said, wait, what? And she said, you didn't hear what I said, did you? It was only 2 minutes, all right? And I didn't have anything to write down, so I couldn't verify it. Okay, brother, I'm going to turn it over to you, man. So,
Are you done with the session? Are you good right now?
yeah, we're good.
Okay, so we'll come back at 12:50. So we'll come back at. It's gonna be tight towards the end because we want to be respectful of your time.
No, I appreciate that.
Respectful of